Because when you hear her story, how she rescued her baby after that explosion, got herself out there, and then has the courage to come out with this remarkable story and put herself out there like nobody else is. To me, that's very heroic, very courageous. And April, we're very pleased to have you on the line, and your attorney, Mr. William Veal. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, April, I want to just start with your story. This was your first day back. The morning of 9/11 was your first day back after maternity leave, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and you are in which branch of the military? I see you're a top secret specialist, but I'm not sure exactly what that means.
A lot of people get the title kind of mixed, jumble it all together. I was selected to come to the Pentagon from the Army. The Pentagon looks for, I guess, what they call the best and the brightest around the world in different fields. And so at that time, I was selected from the Army. I was stationed in Germany, and that's when I got the notification. Top secret with SEI was my classification. So I had the ability and the range to do very different things, depending on the mission.
And I'm going to guess that the Army typically, or the Pentagon that is, typically doesn't reach into the Army and take somebody who may be delusional or crazy. So I take it that I take it that they found you to be very intelligent, bright, and upstanding and insightful, and all of the above. And so I would challenge anybody to suggest that somehow you just lost your mind.
Right, and that it's unfortunate that we go to those extremes because we challenge or we take on the hard issues, but no, they don't. And the selections for the military are not very many, so not everybody in the military can even get at the Pentagon. And then compared to the fact that the military is rank structured, most times they would get officers more than not, but.
All right, well,
again,
take us back to that morning. You had just got to work, right?
Really, actually. And I actually thought that they were not going to allow me to take him in because, he didn't go through my son had not gone through the proper clearance measures. So I
that would be your infant?
Yeah. Right, he's an infant, he's just born. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'll go ahead and do it to, follow what my leader said. But, actually when I got to the entrance, I thought they were going to turn him away. And so I thought I was going to be able to get on my cell phone and say, oh, well, I couldn't get him cleared, so I'm going to go ahead and take him to the daycare. But it didn't work out that way that day. We were able to get through. And so that was like, wow, they're kind of lenient today. So that was my first red flag.
All right, so you sit at your desk, and now the interview I saw was you push the button to start your computer, and it was as if, I'm not saying that you're claiming it triggered an explosion, but the timing was as if it did, right? It was that instantaneous?
Exactly. And when I shared it, I see how people kind of took that way out of context. That's just the incident. As soon as I put my finger on the button to turn a computer, boom.
You're not alleging that triggered it, right?
Right, I've never acknowledged that I believe at any point in time that, I triggered it. But, when you're examining what happened initially at the first start, you're like, what happened?
Yeah.
You think, wow.
Okay, and so your impression was what? That it was basically an explosion with a concussion as opposed to a crash, right?
That's what I thought. And that's only because what happened. There we had this simultaneous thing to happen. So I didn't know what was going on. I'm thinking all types of things, infiltration. I'm thinking, another myth is that people need to understand when you're a soldier, it doesn't matter what your job is, you are combat trained, and you must always remain in the ready at any time to go active, meaning, respond in the time of any type of action that will be deemed or fall in the category of war or action against, the country or its friendlies. So, again, my evaluation was based off my experience. Here I had this thing to happen at the time of my computer. I don't remember seeing anything at all that remotely looked like a plane.
Now, at this point, let me interrupt. but I assume by this point you were aware what was going on in New York, right?
No, we had no warning. There was nothing.
Really?
I just thought it was a regular day. There was nothing, no alarms going off, no alert, nothing.
So we're at around 9:30 in the morning, and you as an individual hadn't heard what had happened in New York?
No, I hadn't at all.
So we're talking about the world's most secure building, where there's probably some of the greatest communication capabilities in the world, and at a military installation, and they didn't tell anybody.
No alarms, no announcements, nothing.
Nothing.
Right? Nothing.
Holy
No.
smokes! That's the first
I
I've
didn't
heard
know
that.
until weeks later. Actually, I didn't know till weeks later what really had happened. It wasn't until weeks later.
Wow.
So I didn't know.
Okay, so then now you're after the explosion, your first thought is, of course, your child, right?
No, actually, I forgot I had a child.
Well,
that's
very motherly of
here's
you.
the reality. You know, you come to,
Yeah.
you come to, and you hear people saying, "Help me, save me." You know, you hear people saying, "Oh my God!" I mean, you hear all these things going on, and you're trying to get what's going on, and you see stuff falling down, and you know you have to get out. So you're not really, being, 1 + 1 = 2. You're just like, here were people stuck. We were trying to pull people that were stuck. I was able to get a couple of people, but then some people I wasn't able to, so that was really hard. Then we hear this baby crying, and we're like, a child? And then the baby stopped crying, so it's like, oh my God, we got to find this baby. It was more reaction. It
Wow.
wasn't a strategy.
Whoa.
There was
Sorry
no
about that.
plan. There was no, let's do this. We were just trying to see how many people we could help before everything collapsed. And so what happened was we got over this mound of debris, and I had the people hold my arm. I said, let's try one more time to try to find this baby. And they held my arm, and I reached down, and it was just random. There was no science to it. There was no anything. I just reached down one more time, and I grabbed my son's onesie and just threw him over my shoulder, and we got out just in time.
What do you mean by that? What happened?
That whole, whatever was in there at the top, it had collapsed. It was like a complete collapse. So whoever was in there didn't survive. Whoever was left didn't make it.
And then if I'm understanding your story correctly, when you exited the building out onto the Pentagon lawn, which, by the way, had the look of a golf course, there was no scorch marks, no tire marks, no debris. But when you made that exit onto the lawn, you went through the hole that the plane allegedly made. Is that right?
Right, that's what's believed. Now, I'm not for sure. I don't know if there's any other holes or anything like that.
Well,
but I did come out of a hole.
Okay.
And it just wasn't myself. It was myself and other people. There were other people we were trying to help and save. And, again, when I came out of that, it was like as soon as I got right outside the entrance, they grabbed my son to resuscitate him. And then it felt like all of a sudden somebody had taken a hammer and beat me from like my head down. So then I collapsed. And so I got to meet the gentleman who helped us get to the hospital.
All right, April.
Because I collapsed on the lawn.
April, hold that thought. Hold that thought. We're going to go to break. This is a fascinating story. If you can hold through the break, we're going to come back in just 3 minutes and pick this back up. This is Tom Coates and Michelle Godin, Baldy and the Blonde.
Hey, folks, it's Jeff Crew.